So the Asian Games is over, and let's talk about India's gains during the Asian Games. So there was a tagline that is bar 100 medals par. India has landed those 100 medals, which is a tremendous feat. But we also need to discuss that what were the specific gains of this entire mega event. Over to Sandeep for opening comments.
I think number one, the moment you cross a century of medals, I guess it gives a lift not only to the athletes but a lot of juniors out there who are probably going to be there at the next Asian Games or the one after that. But I think a huge amount of belief has probably come into the process. I think that has probably been the biggest gain. That unless you follow a certain system, a certain process, a certain coaching line, it's extremely difficult to break open at the world level or even at the Asian level. And I think that's exactly what we have seen. It's an example, but just imagine we've never won an Asian Games gold medal in badminton. We did that yesterday, and I think one sole reason is simply because yes, you got the leagues going, you have players getting so much exposure when they go out and play. But I think the biggest gain is the coaching system also, which comes in from abroad, which comes in internally, and there's an exchange of ideas. The athletes feel confident, their morale is high. I think that's probably one of, for me, that will be the biggest takeaway that a lot of people have been talking about this for the last decade, probably even 2 decades, that this is how you need to change. And I think you can see that change.
There are a lot of stories which are floating around in India being reported upon, which basically focuses on the background of some of the athletes who've come from impoverished backgrounds. The basic message being sent out is that इनके फादर पीएन थे, इनके फादर मैनुअल लेबरर थे, गर्मी में सड़क पे काम करते थे, और इनके माँ बाप के पास खाने को पैसा नहीं था एक वक्त. But that the message that is being sent out is that the drive that some of them have, like someone like Ram Babu, whose father was a manual laborer, that hunger to succeed. Now, it's a great story, but at the same time, could someone like Ram Babu have made it on his own?
Uh, there are two parts, or probably three or four parts to it. Number one, social media activation has its negatives and positives. It's great to do these stories on social media, get 10,000 views, 15,000, 20, 25,000. You got a blue tick, you're going to earn money off it. That's one aspect of looking at it. The other aspect is that it is just not that somebody is from an impoverished background. There are plenty of people out there who belong to the middle class and upper middle class who don't make it, even though they have everything at their doorsteps. Did Leander Paes make it because he came from an impoverished background? Did Mirza make it because it was impoverished background? Did Prakash Padukone make it because it was impoverished background? I can reel off names which are like 50, 60, 80, hundreds of them. We don't tweet all that, but we definitely tweet somebody who's come, like, PN ka beta ya wo rickshaw uske father chalate the. At the end of the day, they come into a system because they have talent, number one. They come into a system where TOPS moves in, where you have state level coaching, state level hostels coming in. You look at Odisha today, you have so many people from Sundargarh and all who are probably not from great backgrounds, but they live in good hostels, they get the right diet. The system brings you in at the end of the day. It's not that just because you're from a humble background, so you're going to make it, you're going to be a gold medalist. I don't buy that argument at all, and I'll never buy it.
What about the hunger, the drive, the ambition? Because this has been discussed in cricket also, and cricket also has generated a lot of these stories. कि इनके father juice seller थे, इनके father ये थे, and ever since Dhoni came in, and I'm deliberately giving a cricketing example. So a former railway ticket collector who transformed India's fortunes at the top, and there was this big discussion that he's broken the back of the Bombay club, who came from a much better financial backgrounds. But cutting that back to say track and field, these athletes who are coming in. So your point is that unless and until there is a strong system, it would be virtually impossible for a large number of athletes to come through.
हमारे देश में 5-6 करोड़, या मुझे नहीं मालूम, 1-2 करोड़ तो जूस वाले होंगे, है ना? अब हर जूस वाले का बेटा अगर क्रिकेटर बनने लग गया और इंडिया के लिए खेलने लग गया, तो I think at the top you're going to have a huge problem because, and I think we need to also accept the fact that even if he's a juice wala, even if he's an engineer's son, he's a doctor's son, or even he is Mr. Bindra's son, somebody called Abhinav Bindra, you still need to have grit, determination, and a hunger to want to play for India or want to go out there and get a gold medal, want to go out there and do 6 hours and 8 hours of training, want to go and be picked up by a coaching system that says, okay, this guy has talent, a specific talent that he has, that he goes into a specific area of sport. I think once you lay that foundation, once you lay that district foundation where kids are being picked up, their talents are being scouted out, and then they are being sent into the system, at the end of the day, you have 16, 18 players playing for a particular team, whether it's a football team or it's a hockey team. But they have come out of a system where there are probably 10, 20, 30,000 boys out there. And probably boys who probably were more impoverished than the ones who have come in. So why didn't they come in? Do we do those kind of stories? No. But the moment somebody hits it, अरे ये पीएन का बेटा, अरे बाबा पीएन का बेटा होगा तो क्या हो गया, किसी का तो बेटा है। पीएन का मतलब क्या हुआ, ये मुझे आज तक नहीं समझ में आया। हम लोग भी तो किसी ना किसी फैमिली से आए हुए हैं, एंड वी हैव सीन सो मेनी पीपल आउट देयर हु हैड अ बैड लाइफ, who probably went through a lot of mental issues, and in our time mental issues means अरे यार सो जा थोड़ी देर, अपने आप ठीक हो जाएगा. That's how people have come through the system. I think it's more of a social media thing. I think it's a very weird way of grabbing a headline. I think you're not giving due credit to the system that allows that talent to flower. I think that's my take on that story.
The brilliant playback singer Sonu Nigam once recently said in an interview, and I'm a big fan of his, कि भाई मैंने तो ये रियलिटी सिंगिंग शोज पे जज बन के जाना छोड़ दिया है, क्योंकि ये चैनल्स प्रेशर डालते हैं कि आप इसके बैकग्राउंड के बारे में बात करो. किसी के फादर वहाँ पे लेबरर हैं, किसी की माँ मेड सर्वेंट है. अल्टीमेटली सोनू निगम का कहना था कि भाई आप रियलिटी सिंगिंग में आए हैं, या तो आप गाना गा सकते हैं या नहीं गा सकते, उस पे कंसंट्रेट करते हैं. डज द सेम रूल अप्लाई टू स्पोर्ट?
I think it's time to apply it. I think it's time to understand the skill, that special skill that person has. Even if it is Ram Babu, even if it is a hockey player, even if it is a football player, a track athlete, they have a certain amount of special skill. Why are you not saying that this country with so many people probably only has one Ram Babu? Why? Not because he was working as a laborer, for God's sake. He had that skill. That is why he came to the forefront. How many laborers who've been working, or how many people who've been working as laborers have become Ram Babu? Can the media answer this? Can I answer this? I'll be so stupid looking at trying to answer this question. Why not go back and try and dig out how did he have that special skill? And if you can showcase that special skill, maybe a lot of coaches will start looking at that particular skill in so many other people, or maybe so many younger boys out there. I think that is the story out there. That what did he have so special that a country of a billion plus could only have one Ram Babu? I think that is the question to be asked, or to be answered rather.
Sandeep, there are certain sports, and I'm asking you this deliberately, that if you take archery, if you take shooting, the fencing, sailing, they may not be the typical sexy sport compared to a track and field. So, first of all, is there a demarcation in fund allocation between these two categories? And second, a lot is being said that shooting, archery, these are your medal prospects even as early as the Paris Olympic Games. Do you agree with that analysis?
I think focus should also be done looking at the Asian Games, should be done looking at the Olympics. I think China's got around 28 in swimming. I think a lot of focus in India should also be on swimming, which means increasing infrastructure, increasing coaching systems so that you can get. If China, I'm not saying if China can do it, 28, and India needs to do 28. If China can do 28, I think we can do 8 or 10 swimming medals. I think, or maybe 5 or 6. And the similar follows in rowing. Rowing, I think our athletes are coming in late. Now, despite coming in late, despite coming to joining the army and then start rowing, I think just imagine if you could have probably done it if you were a sub junior or junior. Probably those systems can be in place. Yes, you need to build it. There's a lot of money that needs to be invested. Sport is hugely about culture and how we imbibe it and how we are brought up from our school systems. But I think it's also hugely about the amount of money you can invest in because you're looking at something which is soft power. Sport is soft power at the end of the day. Your 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 power as a nation also stems from the fact how many medals you have on the table. I think those things, once the government or probably Sports Authority of India and the others who allocate these funds, they look at it like a soft power thing. I think we'll start doing much and much better. But I think you need to pick at least 8 or 10. I remember Malaysia probably around a decade back started picking up sport in which they would do well. And I think it paid off for them to a large extent. I think India needs to do the same. China, of course, just because they came into this game probably 30 years back when they came back into the Olympic fold, they understood the importance of winning 50, 80, 90, 100 medals of the Olympic Games, being the direct competitor to the United States. I think that's where India also needs to feel. And I think this probably the way we have gone here, 107 medals, I think that's going to spur them on instead of saying, okay, 107, it's okay. But I think now they'll probably start thinking 150, 160, and that's how fund allocation should happen.
Americans have this phrase when they're talking about performers that so and so performer puts ass to seats, which basically means that you have a packed stadium. Now, track and field has that power, and so should India devote more time and energy into developing track and field because the world over, these are the sports personalities which become extremely famous internationally, and there are so many names which come to mind. And with your experience of covering so many Olympics, do you think that this is the right time to make a further push?
Yes, I mean, if you're winning 26, 27, 29 medals in the Asian Games, I think we should also realize that this is a strength. Middle distance is a strength. Maybe sprinting not at the moment, but surely middle distance, long distance, and now we are seeing it in the jumps. We are seeing it in the throws in terms of the javelin. These are our strengths, and I think you need to focus on these. But at the same time, track and field honestly is a challenge the world over in trying to get fans into the stadium because most of them love the 100, the 200, the 400. We all love stars. And sometimes the long distance runners are not big stars. They may be for a certain amount of marathons like the New York, the London, the Berlin Marathon, and all of that. But in India, you still need to bring the sport up. And for that, you don't need a Nehru Stadium. You don't need a large stadium with 30,000. You actually need tracks where you can bring in 4 to 5,000 people, and these tracks should be in the neighborhood. I know there's no land left in big cities, so I think the more you can devote tracks to outside of the cities, I think it will do well. Odisha is doing something of similar type in universities and all of that. I think if we can start at the university level where we can put in tartan synthetic tracks, I think you're going to see a spurt in 8 to 10 years or 12 years. Because understand one thing, if you're a hockey player, you don't like playing on grass anymore because you find it fancy to play on synthetic pitch because that is the way the sport is going. If you want to be a track guy, you'd love to be on a synthetic track. You want to give those youngsters that, and right from the beginning because they love the field. It's I wouldn't say it's fashionable, but that's what they want. They want their pictures to be on a synthetic pitch, not on some other track.
Okay, now looking ahead at the Paris Olympics and beyond our magnificent obsession with the equally magnificent Neeraj Chopra, any other sport, any other area where you feel we can land a gold?
I don't think so. We can land a gold honestly, unless Sri Shankar and all really pull up their performances. I've always felt that Sri Shankar has the talent. I mean, I'm not the only one who probably feels that, so there's nothing big about what I'm saying. I think a lot of people do feel that, but I do also feel that at times you need to get out of the country. I do feel that you need to go out so you can look at a wider world. You can look at a wider pool of talent. You can look at a wider pool of coaching systems. And for that, he will have to go join an American university where I think he can easily get a scholarship. Whether he'll go or not, I don't know. Whether he's going to stay in India and work his way out, maybe that's probably his answer to the question that I'm putting up. The example of Chopra for me is not that he's the Olympic or the world champion, but he's understood the systems that are followed across the world. He loves being abroad, not because it's much more cleaner in that sense, or that he gets to breathe clean air, but I think he's understood that if he goes abroad, then he meets those very people. He has those people around him who help him compete, who help him raise his level. I think that's what most of these athletes can do. You look at all the athletes who are in Colorado, they are all doing well. Whether it is Parul, whether it is Sable and the others, they all have increased their performances. I think that is essential for Indian athletics. Coming back to the gold medal, I don't know if Avinash can really crack it because to be able to crack it, you not only need talent, but you need a certain amount of awareness about yourself that I am as big as the guys I'm running with. You need to have that swagger. Maybe it's too soon to say that, but I think Paris will be too early. I think by the time we hit the next one, which is 28, you'll probably be seeing track athletes get into the final. Believe me, anybody who gets into the Paris final, whether it's, let's say, Harmilan Baines, for example, a classic case of should be going abroad to be able to do more middle distance. 800 and 1500 are one of the toughest and one of the most competitive races in the world. I think if she goes out and if she enters the final in Paris or even a semi-final, for me a final is probably it's worth its weight in gold. Leave Chopra aside because he's a very different beast now. But he became a different beast because he understood the route. I think most of these athletes really need to understand the route. They know it's the Olympic gold they're after. That's an Olympic final after, but they need to understand the route, the road, the path they should be walking on.
And last but not the least, so did the Chinese treat you well?
Yeah, yeah. Chinese food is great. I mean, for me, it's fantastic. A lot of people I know, a lot of my friends out here in the media and all, अरे यार इंडियन रेस्टोरेंट जाना है ये सब. मैंने कहा मुझे नहीं जाना है. So, so most of them are running around to this place called Saffron. I heard the Kali dal was very good, but then the Indian Olympic Association had a dinner, so I think I had my fill out there, and I'm quite happy with but it's been in terms of the organizing, I have to say it's one of the best I've seen in terms of quality organizing. I mean, whether it's the buses, whether it's going in on time, whether it's the security clearances, everything happens in a minute, in seconds. It's not even a minute. You take 5 seconds here, 15 seconds there. The bus is supposed to go at 8 o'clock in the morning. It leaves at 8:01 second. It won't be even 1 second extra. It won't go 1 second earlier. In that, I think nobody can beat these guys. This is very very special what I have seen in terms of organizing, and I think a lot of countries in Asia should follow this.
That's fantastic. Enjoy the rest of your time now in Hangzhou. I believe you'll have to catch a flight out early tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And from Team NNS to all our viewers, it's been great connecting with you. We did our best. Send us your feedback and goodbye for now. Bye.
Thanks.